Here we go. Okay. Good evening and good morning, my dearest Rose. My name is Dr. Tova Goldfein, and this is TMS Roundtable Global. We are live, and it's Monday night, and
Tuesday morning here.
It's Tuesday morning. Whoa. We have a wonderful guest tonight, and Rosie will introduce him. Hi, Rose.
Hi, Tova. Welcome guests from Melbourne, Victoria, Australia.
Wow.
We're floodbound at the moment, unfortunately, but we're okay here. Now, we've got Benjamin Millman. He's actually an engineer originally, but now he has turned his sights or his expertise to helping people with fibromyalgia. Now, he has got many insights that I've never heard of before, and hopefully he'll share many of those insights with us. You know, can you, Benjamin, tell us a little bit about your own journey, but then about your philosophy and the insights into fibromyalgia and trauma? And, you know, one of the comments that he made, I thought was very interesting, is how do you regulate the amplifier of trauma and pain? How do you regulate it? And also his other wonderful, insight is about the practice of free will, practicing free will. Now, when people are in constant pain, the last thing they want to think about is practicing free will, but hopefully Benjamin will set you on the road. Yes. So welcome, Benjamin. Thank you for joining us. So a little bit about
thank you very much. Thank you very much for the introduction. Yes, I'm a 71 years old or young engineer. And, you know, an engineer is a person who likes to look at the situation from different points of view. Usually, I'm a person with a very wide angle in my camera, in my eyes. It permits me to see organizations, and seek people from different points of view, and that's the reason. That's the secret of my practice. I begin with my personal experience. I suffered from chronic fatigue syndrome from the age of 17. From 17 to 45 approximately, I was a very sick person. Not only the chronic fatigue, but also many other symptoms. Skin eruptions, problems with the upper and lower respiratory system, digestive problems, very, very weak I was very, very weak. I didn't have too much energy. I could sleep away. I can sleep during driving. During the 15 minutes driving, I can get asleep. My situation was very similar to narcolepsy.
Wow.
Which is a very severe condition. A person in the condition is not allowed to drive. I used to drink between 12 to 20 cups of coffee per day.
Oh, God, I can't imagine.
Big cups of coffee, black coffee, and a lot of sugar.
Wow.
And around the age of 41, I make a small change in nutrition. And immediately something began to change.
Will you tell us what happened? What happened that you made that change? What occurred?
Okay, what brought me to the change is the chronic fatigue. I couldn't live. I was usually very tired. I couldn't think clearly. My mind was very foggy. I could fall asleep in the middle of the day without any warning. One day, I gave a lecture to to the management of the factory. And in the middle of the presentation, I lost myself for a few seconds, a few minutes. I get asleep, like narcolepsy. Incredible. Anyhow, the change in nutrition make a change
So this was
in
it.
the way of thinking. Today, it's known as the gut-brain connection. A small change in nutrition, a big change over there. And it
So
means that
you made a small change in your nutrition because you started to understand the chronic fatigue was related to your brain and your gut. Is that what you're saying?
No. I began to understand that I'm in the wrong place. I'm an engineer, that's it, but it's not my mission in life. So I decided.
You were unhappy in your career, and this is what the
I
stress.
was very happy. Really. I have a very nice horizons in my company, but something inside said to me, wake up, go away, go out from here. And I did it. I didn't know why, where, and what I'm going to do. I've never been a person of courage, but I did something that needs a lot of courage. I cannot understand it. That's illogical. It's not part of me. It means that's the big change in the way of thinking, in the way of managing feelings. Because till this moment, my feelings seem very, very flat, like a piece of paper. And my energy is just the same. And after the change in nutrition, something changed. First of all, I began to be a very active person.
Active.
Yes. Before it, I need about 12 hours per day sleeping. I move about 4 hours per day. And during a few weeks, I slept about 4 to 5 hours per day. It was more than enough for me.
So your energy changed, you slept better, you were more active after the nutrition changed.
Yes. And later I discovered that what I did, I just pushed the button of the restart, of the detoxification mechanism.
You push the button of the...
Everybody has a detoxification mechanism.
Detoxification.
Detoxification mechanism. And it's a secret button. You have to find it and push it, and it works. The most common way to make a detox is by fasting. Drinking water, only water for about 3 days as minimum. That's a good way to begin a detoxification.
Very hard to do. It's very hard to do.
It depends. And this small change of nutrition, press the button. That's it. Okay. Shall we continue?
Yeah. So wait, so you got rid of your chronic fatigue and you got into doing natural health. And then where's the connection to the fibromyalgia, which is something interesting in your life?
So for that, we need a small change in the theater.
Okay, in the theater.
Yes. After leaving the factory, the engineering, I suffered a very severe back pain attack. Really severe.
So the chronic fatigue was gone. You were still in the factory.
That was after I left the factory.
You left the factory, then you got back pain.
But a very big one.
Yeah.
And I understood very well the severity of the situation. And I did something which I didn't know what was it, that I cured it without any other auxiliary help. No remedies, no nothing. If you see my MRI and all the other documentation, you have a really big problem. Now, the problem is still there from the age of 45 to 81, no change. And during all that time, I have only another one attack like that. No, so it's 2 attacks.
2 attacks,
And both
one
of them,
attack,
in
yes.
both of them, I treat them in the same way. It took me between 3 days to 10 days to solve the problem.
Okay.
What's the problem? Something unfinished in my subconscious.
Something not complete in your subconscious.
Something not complete. Some unfinished business, or some conflict, or some trauma, or a combination between them.
Combination between trauma, conflict, and something unfinished.
Yes. And also something unfinished, also from previous lives, in order to complicate the picture. And after I understood the big conflict, because it was very, very big, and it produced a very, very big pain to my soul, which has been projected to my body. And in the moment I understand the conflict, there's no reason for the pain.
So the minute you
And
understood, so can I just ask, without having to know the issue, was there a certain feeling that was part of that conflict that you realized, and then you said, once I realized the conflict and that feeling, there was no reason for the pain?
That's it.
What can you share what the feeling was around the conflict?
It's quite complicated,
Okay,
because
just
there
the
are
feeling.
many parameters. It's like a puzzle with about 400 little pieces. So during the 10 days of the pain, I began to build up the puzzle. In the moment I put the last one, there's no pain. This.
The minute you put together the pieces of the puzzle, the pain went away.
Yes, and I told my wife, go home tomorrow morning. I'm going out from the hospital. They say, are you crazy? You are under observation. Don't worry. Tomorrow I'm going to be out of the hospital. And that's what brings me to fibromyalgia.
Okay.
Because I see the damage that the people that suffer from fibromyalgia brings to the economy. Because if a person cannot work properly, it's doing a damage to the economy and a damage to herself. There's no reason to suffer. Nobody pays you for suffering. So why do you suffer? You suffer because you don't know there's another way. Because perhaps you believe that fibromyalgia is a state that cannot be cured. You have to suffer all your life. And I say no, because I know that you have to suffer. I know it in my personal experience. And that's what brings me to fibromyalgia.
That people do not have to suffer. And though they think they do, you're in full belief 100% that they do not have to suffer, and that they can help themselves with fibromyalgia and get better.
Yes, but the first thing to do is to take responsibility of their life.
Take responsibility. It's very important.
And responsibility in my life today to my relationship, what I do, what I think, my relationship with my family, with my boss, with my wife, or wherever it is, and also responsibility for all the genetics and epigenetics.
Responsibility for the genetics and the epigenetics.
That's it. And the epigenetics includes also the spiritual genetics.
Spiritual genetics. Very interesting.
It means that I'm not here for the first time. It means that my soul has been here many, many times, and every time it has been accumulating experiences and writing every experience in a very big hard disk. And I'm connected to this hard disk.
The hard disk, connected to the hard disk.
Yes, to the hard disk, a very huge one. And I see myself behave in a complete way that I would like to behave.
Say that again.
Because my subconscious.
Say the last sentence again, dear.
I behave not according what I want or what I think, but according what happens in the backstage of my life, in the subconscious. Fibromyalgia is a very challenging syndrome, which is deep into the subconscious. The subconscious includes all the experience you have in this life, many of the experience of your antecedents, it means father and mothers, generations up, and also the experience of your soul in previous lives. And if I say take responsibility of your life, is to take responsibility of all the package.
All the lives. We need to take responsibility for all my lives.
All my lives. That's it.
So that's it's a equals B and B equals C. So A equals C. I mean, it sounds, what do you think, Rose?
Is it logical? Rose? Can you see it logical as logical?
Is it logical?
Is it logical?
To take responsibility for all your lives? Well,
yes.
Please share more how we do that, because I'm only aware of one life at the moment. So.
Yeah.
Why?
So how do we do that?
Oh, that's the way we do. But it doesn't mean that's the way we should do. You know what? Look, let's take two factories in Australia. Both of them produce approximately the same product. One of them is efficient. It earns a lot of money. They have a good service. Everything is perfect. And the second one is always sick.
Always, yeah.
They always have problems. In any case, their products are not so good. What's the difference between them? What's the difference? Both of them have the same amount of workers. They are placed in approximately in the same place. They have the same amount of money. They have the same market. What is the difference between them?
What is the difference?
The management.
Management.
Right, only the management. So, if I look at you, Rose, as an institution, I can say that the body is like the workers. and the mind is like the department managers. And the spirit is the vice president, and the soul is the president. So within humans, it's just the same. If your personal president doesn't know what's its place, doesn't know how to manage itself, and he is connected to that big hard disk in the
Conscious.
subconscious, which dictates him what to do and how to react. You can see it as symptoms. As in the factory, the symptoms are the quality of the program of the products, right? And in a factory, like a human person, it is pain and symptoms and symptoms.
Yes.
They're just the same.
Yes.
That's a question of management. The question is, where is your management, and who is there? Who is sitting in your office, in the office of the
Who's
president?
managing the workers? Who's managing the workers? There's the
Who is
president.
managing?
There's the vice president. Who's managing the workers?
Who's managing the president? I want to know.
Well, the president's the soul. The president doesn't need to be managed. The soul doesn't need to be managed, does it?
Well, maybe it
The soul
does.
is the manager. The soul is the manager. The
Oh,
soul
who
is
manages
what
the
is called
soul?
the chief executive officer. COE.
Who manages the soul? Rose said, who manages the soul? Who manages the soul?
Oh,
That was Rose's question.
the soul is managed by all the experience of previous lives.
The soul is managed by all the experiences, but the experiences is the person's perception, is the person's, like Patty said, awareness.
Patty's onto it.
All right, Patty. Wow. So that's running our life. Our experiences coming from our perception and our awareness is running the show.
That's it.
But we can change that. We can change the experience.
That's it. That's it, exactly. We can change the experience. We can change the point of view of the experience.
Point of view.
Let's take an example. Suppose you have been attacked when you was 2 years old. You have been attacked by a small cat.
A small cat.
For you, it was like a leopard, right?
For me, it was like a lion. You said a lion?
A lion, a leopard, or a tiger.
It was like a lion.
Okay. Therefore, you will be afraid of any kind of animal which are similar to that.
Yeah.
You will be afraid of cats or of everything. And it can be something that happened to you in this life, at the 2 years old, or in previous life. I mean, in any case, perhaps you will feel it in this life.
Yeah.
Now suppose now you look at it again by spiritual tools. And you look at it from a different point of view.
So I look at my trauma. I look at my trauma being bit by a cat from a different point of view in this life.
Okay. In that case, you change the scenario. And you return the memory back to your hard disk, but with a different codification.
Different codification.
In that case, the next time you will see a cat, you will react in a very normal way.
I will go and pet it.
No panic at all.
No, I will pet the cat.
Yes, that's it. Perhaps yes.
I will bring it milk.
Well,
milk.
will take your time to get to such
A can of
places.
salmon. A can of salmon.
Okay, well, that's a small example, yes, but that's a way to show that we can change the point of view, or we can look at the situation or the experience or the trauma for another point of view, and then return it back to the memory in such a way that it doesn't activate us. It doesn't mean for us as a trauma.
It doesn't activate the fight or flight system or create.
That's it. Perfect. That's it.
So you're talking about neuroprogramming or changing your, your story, changing, like if it was PTSD, the tank blew up, but everyone got away
Mm-hmm.
and the war stopped. I mean, like you can just, wow, let it go. I mean, like it's nothing new under the sun, but the way that you're talking about it is quite interesting, especially around the trauma as a child and, me being scared of animals and me being scared of, I become OCD because I'm scared of anything with fur. So you're saying, it's easier said than done. I mean, the trauma, it goes deep. It's a deep trauma. What do you think, Rose, with your work that you've done with trauma and?
Well, I'm interested in how Benjamin is actually helping people rather than my experience. So my experience is not.
When Rose is too quiet, I get a little worried. I get a little worried when Rose is too quiet.
I'm trying to listen.
I know.
Okay, so you're throwing the responsibility on my shoulders. Okay. How do I work? The first thing to do is to put on myself the ability to see the aura of the person.
The aura.
Aura of the person.
Oh, aura. Okay.
And to verify what are the different energies that are accumulated there. If there are some foreign energies, we have to drop them, throw them away.
Throw them away?
Yes, to not throw them away, but to clean them.
Clean them. Detox.
Some kind of detox, energetical detox. And this will permit us to see what the person brings here from previous lives. In fibromyalgia, I usually find previous lives as a victim. Can be victim in relationships with the boss, with the husband, with the woman. It can be victim in the sexual fields. It can be victims also in murdering or any other case of victimacy. But not everyone that has been a victim in previous lives will build up here fibromyalgia. Usually what brings fibromyalgia, it is more than one big issue in which a person felt a very big, a lot of guilt, blame, shame, and a change of, let's call it, I'm looking for a word, helplessness.
They have they
feel despondency.
Despondency.
Good word. I can see the main energy in fibromyalgia is something in the surrounding of despondency and the helplessness.
Helplessness and despondency.
In previous times, and very similar situations also in this life. And all you need is a trauma to blow up the situation and
Like
bring
a trigger, something to trigger.
trigger. And the trigger is a trauma. Usually the trauma is quite similar to the above traumas mentioned before.
To the past traumas.
The past trauma, past big traumas. Because every one of us has a lot of traumas. Hundreds of traumas. Not every trauma brings you sickness. What makes the difference is the threshold the person have, or the way he works with the thresholds of his buttons, of his life,
Right.
how we see a situation. For example, if I go to the dentist and I know that the excavation in my teeth is not putting me into any danger, I can tell my brain, it's not there's no danger over there, don't worry, and I make tuk, 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 to the threshold, to the bottom, and I say my brain, don't react to it.
So you turn your threshold up when you're at the dentist, and your brain doesn't have to react because you turned your threshold. So you were able to take your threshold up or down at will.
That's it. In the same way, suppose I've been exposed to a fire in the forest. If my amplifier is a very, very high, for me, it will be a very big trauma. But if I know how to put it in the low side of it, for me, it's fire. It was a trauma, a small trauma, but I can overcome. I can heal it. Perhaps if I talk with you a few times, it will be enough for me. But it depends on the psychological building of the person. The psychological building of the person means the way you translate the situation to be a trauma and to be a syndrome.
Right.
Seems to be complicated, right?
It could be an experience that someone's having, or it could be a drama. It depends, you're
That's
saying,
it.
on how they view it.
That's right. How do you view it? And the way you view the situation today is usually affected in the way you see it in your subconscious. And Sarno in Schubener says just the same. But they limited themselves to the two principal stages of the person, which is the body and mind. And I am expanded to the other stages of the person. That's only one difference between Sarno and Schubener and me.
You bring in the soul piece, which for you is the problem and the solution.
That's it. The problem and the solution. That's it. Unfortunately, that's it.
Wow.
Short and sharp.
Yeah. So
Simple.
if I'm going to answer Colette's question in a minute, because I think it's the question I have, Colette, is it's fascinating what you're talking about, Benjamin. So my question, well, let's ask Colette James' question first. How do you make peace with past lives?
Why do you? What?
How do you make peace with past lives?
Okay. Mm, you don't make peace. Well, we are used to use this phrase. How do you do peace with your life, your present life? If you are dealing with past life, it's a bit different. What we do there is to clean the energies. The energies you bring from your past lives is like a radio transmitter over here that transmits all the time. During the energetic healing, we just disconnect this transmitter. Then you are free to hear your thoughts and not what happens in the backstage on the subconscious. That's the first thing to do. Then you see what are your qualities in previous lives that served you in previous lives and use you here in your actual life. Suppose you have been a perfectionist in previous lives.
A perfectionist.
Perfectionist. Oh. And also in this life. And you understand that's not good for you. And you change your mode of thinking and reacting, and you begin to be a more soft person. That's the way you make peace with your past.
So it sounds to me, not that you have to change who you are, but to balance. If you were a perfectionist, you're hard on yourself and so you come more to the center, become softer.
Sure, but how do you do that?
I'm not sure it's a question that we can answer it here because we shall need about 2 weeks. It's a lot of, we need to learn we have to learn this kind of philosophy. And this philosophy, you can find it in the Buddhism, in the Kabbalah, in many cultures. But without learning those materials, it's quite difficult to understand what the process.
Can
so
you
the
expand?
question is,
oh, sorry. This is the area that's unique with you as a healer. So can you expand that a little bit more so that the audience will understand where you're coming from, that spiritual growth that you're talking about that's in the Kabbalah? Can you expand that a little bit more?
Well, I learned Kabbalah. I learned also the Christian Kabbalah and also a bit of the other different theories. Most of them are quite similar. I believe that in Australia there is a lot of spiritual healers. I know there are a lot.
In Australia?
In Australia, yes. In New Zealand, there are many, many, many spiritual healers. Also in the United States, also in Israel, there are many. All you need to know that they are available, and if you open your eyes, you will see them.
Very nice.
Means that to go to receive acupuncture or massage or reflexology is nice to have. It works very nice on body and mind. But if the problem is severe, like fibromyalgia or any other autoimmune disease, the solution is not in the body mind. It's far away in the energetical energetical world.
Mhm.
When you say the energetical world, what do you
Spiritual.
mean by that?
The energetical world is everything that's over the soul. The soul here, today, in this planet, is connected to the worlds that in upper stages. I don't want to deal with the upper stages, but there are many stages. And there are the solutions.
What do you mean by upper stages? Like higher than? Can you just?
Higher ranks of the soul. It means let's call the home of the souls in the upper world, the angels, and many other stages which influence our life. Yes, there's a huge
Wow.
field of research, of learning, understanding, and there are a lot of books, many books, which are easy to read. In the moment you begin, you cannot left it.
You can't leave it.
You can leave it.
Michael Brown is an author that some of us study, and he believes that if I'm correct, that we take our child from our child self from this life, which could, and we integrate it into the adult self.
Okay.
That's a healing that can peacefully move on, again, depending on the responsibility and the perception that I can, as Patty said, forgive the players in my life or deal with my anger and emotions, and then live peacefully in this life with my child and my past and my adult, and not get rid of anyone, but more like integrate them together and heal. That's sort of a theory that kind of has calmed me in many ways in understanding what you're talking about, which is very esoteric.
The theories you are talking about, that includes Sarno and Schubiner, they are right theories in the work. What I'm bringing here is the fact that all the time you have this transmitter on your shoulder, radio transmitter on your shoulder, or the direct connection with the traumas of previous lives. All the time you are connected to those big traumas. It's very difficult to do the changes here in this life, to make peace with the inner child, with the father, the mother, etc., etc. And in the moment you are free from those energies, you can think freely. You can look at your father, mother, and your husband in a different way. And then you can live it in a different way. You can make peace with yourself and with the others. It's possible. But as an engineering, you have to begin from the beginning. And the beginning is in the chief the chief executive officer, the CEO, the CEO.
And that's the soul.
Soul, yes. It's more than the soul, all the experience of the soul.
All the experiences of the soul.
Wow. That's the secret. simple, clear, simple model, a simple solution, and all you need is to want to move from the place you are now and to calculate a new path in your life. That's all.
To what?
A new path.
Make a new path
life.
in this nervous system, in your thoughts, in your experience. I mean,
you use the ways the how to call it the ways the travel software navigation with the softwares.
what about the softwares?
Navigation, like the ways.
Like the ways, like
Yes,
ways.
Calculate a new way, a new track,
A new path.
a new path. Yes, that's it. But in order to calculate a new path, all you have to do is to stop for a few minutes, outside the autobahn of life, and to look at yourself and to think, elaborate what you know, what you have here now, and calculate new path of life. But you have to stop. Otherwise, it's impossible, because when you are running or while you are planning in the theater of life, you don't have the time and the energies to recalculate a new path. You have to think. That's it. And it's possible.
Can you tell us about a client of yours that was able to help her themselves?
She suffered from fibromyalgia and from difficulties in getting pregnant. She suffered a lot. She could continue suffering pain and all the other fibromyalgia symptoms from day to her last day. But she became to an age in which she has the idea she has to be pregnant. And she will do everything in order to be pregnant. A person who is suffering with these symptoms, challenging symptoms like fibromyalgia, will not come to a healing program unless they are in a place in which they accept they cannot go lower from this point, that the suffer is too big, too much.
So the person has to accept that they suffered enough, and that's going to motivate them to change.
And then stop and say, okay, I'm not able to go deeper into it. I need help. I want to take responsibility. And then is able to hear the inner voice who says, yes, I want to change my life. And then immediately she will find the spiritual healer. Although she didn't know I am a spiritual, but the coincidence brought her here. After we make all the energetical jobs, and she began to behave in a different way, she became pregnant. In the moment she got pregnant, She disappeared. Today, she's
Lovely
pregnant.
story.
Yeah.
She's pregnant, and she suffers from fibromyalgia. But she doesn't have today the reason, the good reason to continue the process, because she achieved her goal to be pregnant. That's what's important. Okay, that's not a case which is a glorious case, because it is not it's not exactly a good case or a positive one, but it demonstrates the challenges of every people, every therapist who deals with so challenging diseases or syndromes.
Right. You know, it's like we see something ahead of us and we can decide if it's, you know, a bridge or it's a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and that's why there's this just, it's wonderful to, I mean, I love the spiritual part. I love the spirit and soul part of your healing. I think when the doctors that we do meet talk about love and fear and guilt and shame, I think I mean, it becomes sometimes I would like to, it's another discussion, but the emotions, the feelings, it almost feels like it's my soul. It's the way my soul speaks through feelings, through my soul doesn't speak through thoughts. It speaks through, you know, sort of, we all have this feeling definition about our soul. You know, it's not a religious thing. It's a body thing. It's a human thing, or is it a religious thing? It's quite interesting, you know.
Well, look, it's not a question of religion. If you ask me, do you believe in reincarnation? I say I will give you the same answer as if you ask me, do you believe in protons and electrons? Of course. It's so obvious that there has to be reincarnation.
Reincarnation.
It's so obvious we bring here all the experience from previous lives. Besides, there are a lot of books, some of them written by very famous psychiatrists.
Psychiatrist, yeah.
One of them is Brian Weiss.
Sure. I have his book. He was a psychiatrist from Harvard or Yale.
That's it.
And he was a very conservative psychiatrist. And the story is he had he was referred a patient by one of his colleagues. And his colleague said, I couldn't help this person. I maybe you can find something. So the woman was, I think she might have been an employee in the hospital, and he decided to do something he had learned in school, but he had not really done it. And it was a type of hypnosis where he relaxed the person and had them go back into lives and had them bridge between lives. And so is this something happened in this life, and then it healed in this life, and then they were killed in this life, and then they were healed in this life. And
but he didn't do it. The patient do it.
The patient did it, of course.
The patient do it. He was punished because he didn't believe what's telling her.
Yeah.
And he was a very lucky person because he had his wife. And the wife told him, look, continue recording the meetings. Continue recording. And they listened to it. And it took him a long time to understand that it's real. And then she asked him, write a book. And he said, are you crazy? If I write a book, they throw me from Harvard. Don't worry. So they wrote a book together, by the way. And after publishing the book, he received many, many emails from his co-workers who say, hey, I have just same experience, and I was very, very afraid to share them because I was afraid they will throw me from my job.
Right.
But today we can talk very freely about previous life, reincarnation.
Dr. Brian Weiss, I'd like to say that this woman that he treated, once he put her under hypnosis and relaxed her, she knew the name. He had a son who passed away at a young age, and he was in a different country. He was in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And when his son passed away, and this woman knew the name of his son, and they had told nobody. He wrote nobody the name of the son, and this woman knew the name of the son.
Do you think, Tova, that you could write the name of that person, whoever it is? Because I haven't got the drift of any of this, unfortunately.
Yeah,
can you write that name down?
Yes, his name is Dr. Brian Weiss. He's a psychiatrist from Harvard, and he started
but write it down on the thing.
Sure. Okay. Well, I see that there are a lot of traffic on the chat. Can you raise some questions?
Yeah. I also could go get the book. I have the book. Patty Clark has been engaging the whole time. Patty, I know Patty. I think she's in Florida. I know she has some chronic pain, and so she has made a few comments. For example, fibromyalgia is TMS, a stress syndrome. Stress is coming from the thoughts. So if we silence these thoughts and be in awareness, we can heal.
She's right. She can use the methods of Sarno or the emotion awareness and expression therapy from Schubener to heal some parts of her life, but to a limit, to the limit of this life, and perhaps something that's important from previous lives. Right. But in order to do a complete job, it's better to begin with the spiritual healing, and after it, to the other techniques.
So it makes sense, and but Rose has taught me something very beautiful. It's not that we silence our thoughts; we accept them and recognize them and kind of observe them.
Yeah, that's what Patty's saying too, and Cheryl.
Yeah,
and Kayleen, all right, as well.
Yeah. So Patty continues to say that Kayleen shares that reincarnation just makes sense. Kayleen. Kayleen also had, she healed cancer from herself. She wrote a very beautiful book about awareness and self-love and cancer. Mm-hmm. Patty goes on to say, I really don't think our past lives, not sure I believe that or not at this time, is the tool for healing. I think it's the trauma, whether it's emotional or past physical, is the key of understanding, which is repressed in the present suffering.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's right.
Yeah. So, so Cheryl is from Australia, and she shares that to attain true inner freedom, you must be able to objectively watch your problems instead of being lost in them.
Mm-hmm.
No solution can possibly exist while you're lost in the energy of a problem. Everyone knows you could not deal with the situation if you're getting anxious or scared or angry about it. The first problem you have to deal with is your own reaction.
Rather than response.
Right.
Yeah.
Very, very, very true. So I think if Dr. Sarno were alive, he would probably be talking about the soul a little bit more. I think it was about to come. I mean, he'd lived till 96.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, maybe he should have started a little bit earlier, shouldn't he? I think professionally, though, you're not allowed to. As this Dr. Brain or whatever his name is.
Brian.
Oh,
Like
Brian. Oh,
yeah, Brian.
Yeah,
yeah.
he said he'd be expelled.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Rose, I think the people who get TMS are, sensitive and deep-seated people. They're deep in themselves. They're searchers. They're wondering. They're questioning. They're, and I think that it's a certain kind of people that get fibromyalgia. You said that at the beginning of your talk. And I think before they're victims, they're very sensitive people.
Okay.
And once they know themselves, so whether it's knowing themselves in this life or past lives, I think one of the keys is to know yourself and to understand yourself. And if it means the soul and spirit, I think however you get there. I mean, Rose's work is very much like EA, the work that Schrubener does. He learned some of that. He learned all of it from Dr. Abbas. So it is important. And
look what Cheryl wrote.
Yeah. Can we bring him back? We should have frozen Sarno and done some voodoo to bring him back. Wouldn't that be great? Bless his soul. I don't know if he wants to come back, Cheryl LaRue. We'll have a talk with Michael Galinsky. We'll have another movie and discuss it. Yeah, Dr. Sarno was a very humble soul. Yeah.
Yes. By the way, when I look at Sarno's eyes and also Schubener, both of them, they were very humble and, let's say, profound eyes. You can see their soul, and I believe that we can speak with them in that language, and for them it's completely clear. The question is, why did they not put it in the books? I believe that the reason is that they try to bring some esoteric knowledge.
Some esoteric
knowledge in a academic way. If you are from the academy, you are not allowed to be too much spiritual.
That's right.
You cannot choose. Yeah. I believe that both of them have been very, very spiritual, and no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I noticed that you spoke about sensitivity. We mentioned before that the keywords of fibromyalgia are helplessness, despondency, and also sensitivity.
Yeah.
Helplessness. What was the other thing?
Sensitivity.
And despondency.
And sensitivity.
Yeah.
Now, let's look at sensitivity as an engineer. I have a control panel of my life.
You have a what? You have a
panel.
Control panel.
Okay, with a lot of press in a lot of
knobs, buttons.
And every one of them have a threshold from the minimum from up to the maximum. In fibromyalgia, usually all the buttons connected with the nervous system are in full volume, and everything brings a big reaction. A small pain is a big pain. A small feeling is a big feeling. That's the main issue with fibro. What do we do during the treatment? And all the ways we mentioned here are good. They just permit the person to understand, and I have the responsibility of all the knobs, the responsibility to manage them. It's a question of free will. I come to a place, I have to decide to the right or to the left. To the right, it means increase the threshold. To the left, decrease the threshold. Like elections. You have to decide how to react to any situation. And if I understand this point, the healing can be quite fast.
Benjamin? No, for a minute.
Yes.
So it's very fascinating. It's very fascinating, and maybe you'll write a book one day, and deep.
Yeah, very deep.
Yeah. And maybe you'll write a book one day and publish it into English.
The truth is that there is some kind of book, which is a lot of small articles I wrote in the community I lead. This community is in Hebrew and brings information or knowledge how to prevent and treat fibromyalgia, and it can be prevented. And of course, it can be cured.
So it can be prevented, first of all, and you're saying it can be cured.
That's it. The prevention is more easy than the curement, but it's possible. What do you mean by prevention? You know that there are people that say that fibromyalgia is genetics.
It's genetic.
Genetic. I say it's epigenetics.
You say it's epigenetics.
It means we can change it. We can avoid the situation in which what we have in the subconscious can be can transform itself to a trauma, or can bring it to a trauma. And you can see it at very early age. A person who has good eyes and is expert in fibromyalgia can see the roots of fibro on very young kids.
Wow.
4-year-olds, 6, 10 years old. You can see it usually. There are many signs, especially in those cases in which there are some kind of sexual syndromes or sexual symptoms, small symptoms. For example, continuous or chronic
Everyone's frozen. Oh dear.
Rose,
Are
you're
you
there.
back?
You're
Okay,
there.
we're back. We're back. Okay. It
You
was
want
a technical
to
problem.
finish that thought?
Yeah, I love what Patty's got to say. Oh, well, I don't know if I'm still live or what. It looks like I am. And yeah, yeah. Am I still on, Cheryl? No.